So, ready to do some math this morning? Joining us today we have Picasso and Speckles. Speckle joined my mom a little bit after I left home. He has 3 legs. We're going to take it from a little different perspective today. In your packet, there is a slide that says 5,923 divided by 78. And there are a bunch of questions. So we're going to go through those questions first and talk about division that way, and then we will compare it to our long division strategy, see what kinds of adaptations or improvements we can make so that we can be efficient dividers or quotient finders. Okay, so it says, how could you use place value patterns and properties of operations to estimate the quotient? We have 5,923 divided by 78. We know that one group of 78 is 78. We also know that 10 groups of 78 is 780, and 100 groups of 78 is 7,800. Well, this number is less than 7,800, so my estimate is that the quotient will be less than 100. I'm just going to write that down. Because 7,800 divided by 78 is 100. So 5,923 divided by 78 should be less than 100. That answers our second question. Will the estimate be less than or greater than your estimate? My estimate's 100. It's going to be less than 100. The third question says, how can decomposing the dividend help you determine the quotient? So everyone, take a second in your notebooks, make sure that you write down 5,923 divided by 78 if you haven't already. And I want you to write 5,923 in expanded form. Okay? Right? That's 5,923 in expanded form. Well, I cannot get at least 100 groups of 78, so, I already did that. Okay, so, let's think about this. As we're dividing 5,000 into groups of 78. I know that 10 groups of 78 is 780. Okay, that's really 10 times 78 is 780. 20 groups of 78 is just doubling that. So, 700 times 2 is 1,400. 80 times 2 is 160. I'll add those two things together, and I have 1,560. I'm trying to get close to 5,000. So I'm just going to double that again. Double 20, you get 40. And then I'll double 1,560. Okay, this is what I have so far. In order to figure out 50, I already know what 10 times 78 is, and I know what 40 times 78 is. So I can add these two partial products together for 50 times 78. This is great because 80 plus 20 is 100. So 100 plus 100 is 200, plus 700 is 900, it's 3,900. Alright, so, I could add 780 again, but I could also add this group of 20 here. So if I have 20 and 50, I'm going to find 70 groups of 780, and I'm going to add 1,560 plus 3,900. This is basically 4,000 minus 100. So I have 5,560 minus 100. I have 5,460. Okay, so I want to make sure that I'm dividing up as much as possible all at once. So I had 5,000 plus 900. And that's great because 70 groups of 78 is 5,460. Okay, so I have 5,900, and I just took 5,460 and divided that into 70 groups. So what I have left over that I still have to put into groups, let's figure that out. I do that by subtracting. So I have 440 plus 20 plus 3 left over to divide into groups. This is what I've written so far. My original quotient in somewhat expanded form minus what I just grouped and I kept track of the number of groups. And this is what I've left over, 440 plus 20 plus 3, and I can definitely divide that by 78. If we go back to our original groups that we did, okay, well obviously I'm not going to get 10 groups anymore because they're on 780, but I can still think of this as one group is 78, 2 groups is 156, 4 groups is 312, 5 groups is 390, 6 groups is 468, which comes really close to what we needed, which was 440 plus 20. We need to get 460. Oh, so 6 groups is a little too much. Okay, so we'll do 5 groups, because that's 390. Oops. I just wrote that super weird. So I wrote down, if you check 5 groups, I'm going to subtract 390, see how much is left to divide that we still have left over. So that's 50 plus 20 plus 3, that's 73, which doesn't make a whole group of 78, which means we have a remainder. 75, remainder 73. We have 75 groups with 78 things in each, and we have 73 left over. So, or we have a fraction of a group at the end. Yes, you can continue this into decimals if you want. This was kind of a lot of writing, right? I have just some multiplication facts over here, and then I have my division here. I kept track of the groups. I was subtracting it along as I went. If I drew it, if I did an area model, I would have a rectangle that had, right, remember when I did the circles? But I would have to draw 75 circles, and I'd have to put 78 dots in each circle. And then my last circle, my 76th circle, would have 73 dots in it out of the 78. So now we've been talking a little bit about long division all week. So before I do anything, I want you in your journal to brainstorm a couple of things to these questions. How will you refine your division strategy to divide accurately and efficiently? Will you be able to adapt your strategy for decimals? Because you're going to really need to be able to do that as well. Because 5,920 is 592 tens, I can say that 78 times 7 tens is 546 tens. So in my quotient, as I'm dividing, I'm going to write 7 in the tens place of the answer. And then, since I knew that that took up 546 tens, I can write that underneath my dividend and subtract it so that I know how many parts I still have left to divide. So I write the 7 there. That's in the 10. It's right above the tens place of my dividend, so it's going to be in the tens place of my answer. 7 times 78 was 546, or 7 tens times 78 is 546 tens. Okay, I'm going to subtract it to see how much I have left to divide. I have 463 left to divide. 7 times 78 was 546. Before when we did it, 6 times 78 was actually 5 more than 463. So we can't make 6 whole groups. We're 5 short of that, right? So I have 5 groups. I'm showing you which things I'm multiplying. That's important. When you write that on your paper, don't erase it. I want to see it. Because it shows me what you're thinking. We have 73 left over. Under 73. Or your quotient is 75 and 73 out of 78. Okay? So there were a number of things I did to make my division strategy more efficient, to write less, and yeah, I lined up some stuff. I think I can continue this one with decimals because I can put in a decimal there, and I can put the decimal there, and I could keep going. Probably, oh, it's more than 7, it's probably 0.8 something, right? The point is, we don't have to do it right now. That wasn't part of the question or anything like that, but we can. The point is we can. And you can do this with groups. You could keep track on this side with how many groups you have as you're subtracting, but I think it might be a little bit hard when I get into 73.0, because I'm going to have to keep track of groups that are not whole numbers. I've done all the math today, right, so far. What I want you to do is to go ahead and set up, like in B and D, they have it in the division house. 8,162 divided by 53. Okay, so I want you to go ahead and take some of the things that you said you could do to refine your division strategy so that you could be more efficient and accurate dividers and quotient finders, and actually go ahead and do this, right? Do this in your journal, and then actually make some notes about what it is that you changed to be more efficient. And the packet needs to be finished by Monday when I will see you. Okay? Bye.
You're going to help me? You're going to help me? Hi. Oh, hi, sweetheart.